Hey guys.
Hey, hello.
Hey.
How you guys doing?
Yeah, it's nice to be back together after a while, isn't it?
I know it seems like that life gets busy, but I don't know. I'm Catherine Price, and y'all introduce yourselves.
Okay, Juanita, go.
Oh, well, I'm Juanita Dvorak, and one of the proud little ladies. I've been fortunate to be with these two ladies and for quite a while now, and really enjoy doing this, and really hope that we can give some good information that's going to help people make some important decisions in Lake Wales.
And I'm Charlene Bennett, and I'm glad we're doing this again. We've had a lot of people ask us where we were, and we've been traveling and doing crazy stuff, I guess, and so it's nice to be back.
Well, Charlene, at our age, I think they worry when we disappear.
That's how it went. I named this podcast or this little video "Still Kicking."
Oh, did you? That's a great one. Yeah.
But we are the three little ladies from Lake Wales, Florida, and I just thought, what we've been doing over the last few years is basically trying to sort of educate our local community about our local city government and issues related to city government, particularly relative to development in our area, because it's become so critical. And people don't understand how to find out this information. And a lot of times it's helpful to have people do the research and then get that information out there for them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we've had quite a few things going on in the last week or so. And I thought I'd let Charlene kick it off, so to speak, by talking about what happened Tuesday night at the Planning and Zoning Board meeting.
Okay, and I think it's something that's really important because it may be a turning point. The planning board really delved into the projects they were looking at. And they were looking at 3 projects based on land owned by CBD Real Estate. This is a company that buys up land in several states. What they do is they buy it up, they turn it into a development, and they sell it to a big national builder. They've already done that with Hunt Club Estates and with the Groves at Orchard Hills and with Robbins Run. And now the two that they're working on now are Iron Mountain and Steeplechase, and also a little piece of property that's right next to Hunt Club. Why they didn't include that in the beginning, I don't know. But anyway, what happened was with these 2 properties, Iron Mountain and Steeplechase, they came in originally like a year ago and were approved, and they were a little bit better designed than some of the previous stuff. And they also include some traditional neighborhood stuff with alleys. Now, they claim that they couldn't find any builder who will build alleys, and therefore they came back and asked for an amendment to their 2 projects. Both amendments got rid of the alleys, and the Iron Mountain one took away whatever creativity it had and turned it into a basic grid. And so the Planning and Zoning Board took a look at this, and my goodness, I was so pleased to see them really analyze what they were looking at. And they decided, in the case of those 2 big projects, that they were not better with the new amendments, that they were not in favor of any of these changes, and they were going to leave the projects the way they were. And so they denied, in a unanimous vote, the approval of those 2 projects. And then the third thing was that little piece adjacent to Hunt Club Groves, where they came in as usual with with waivers. And that's how, let me just add this one part and then I'll quit. When they come in with and design their new developments, they have all kinds of waivers and special exceptions, which means that the end product looks nothing like the planned development guidelines that exist on the books in Lake Wales. It makes them the perfect thing for a big developer like Lennar and D.R. Horton to come in with their cookie cutter stuff. What the P&Z did was they said, no, we're not going to facilitate cookies to cutter stuff here. And we're not going to approve waiver after waiver anymore. And they said no to all these projects.
Well, they held their ground, right?
Yeah,
You know,
well, you were there. You were there one day. What did you think it was?
And they, it was really inspiring to see how they really did try to make sure that they weren't going to approve something that really deviated from the envision, which is one of the reasons why it was approved in the first place, those two particular developments, because we were excited. Wow, they have alleys. Looks like maybe we're actually getting towards, all of the aspirations, not all of them, but some of the aspirations of Envision. And then little by little, they chipped away at it until, they had something they could sell to a bigger developer that would be just
well, like I have a little different perspective. When they came in here a year ago, they talked about how much hardship it was going to cause them to be able to try to meet the requirements of the new PDP or plan development project, or the traditional neighborhood model that the city had come up with under this Lake Wales envisioned plan. And they claimed that it was such a hardship that they needed, I think Iron Mountain had 26 what they call variances that they requested. And same thing with Steeplechase. They had basically taken, in my estimation, had taken away almost all of the Lake Wales envisioned requirements. And it was a very inferior product, what we were presented with a year ago. And then for them to come in and ask at this point to take out the alleys, which was the only vestige left of the Lake Wales envision process, it was almost like a slap in the face to the community, especially when at this time we already have 18,000 houses, approved for Lake Wales. We only have 17,000 people in residents of Lake Wales, and we have 18,000 homes that have been approved by the city commission in Lake Wales to be built.
And they figure 2.5 people per unit. So right. 2.5 times 18,000 tells you how many more people that could bring to Lake Wales.
And didn't they get some kind of didn't they give them a break on impact fees for some of these?
Yes.
You're talking about all these families that are going to come in here and how that's going to, nobody takes into consideration, it seems, how that will affect our schools, our police, our infrastructure in so many different ways. And thank goodness, I think the P&Z board did this time, right?
Well, the impact fees, when you build a new development, is what the builder has to give to the city to cover things like roads, the additional infrastructure that's needed for like sewers and water, electrical, infrastructure, like you said, schools, a whole host of things that have to be built to supply, that subdivision. The city decided that they were going to give them a break of almost 50%. Like they had almost $4 million in impact fee waivers between those two subdivisions. So, to me, when we already have 18,000 homes approved in the city, we're not lacking. And these are not high-end homes. These are all sort of lower, lower, I don't know how to describe it, but not homes that, are going to increase the value of homes in Lake Wales. These are homes that are going, as many homes as we're building, they're actually, we're overbuilt in Central Florida right now. And we're seeing a recession start in the housing industry, and every house that's built in Lake Wales actually reduces the value of the homes that are already here. My home value.
One of the women who stood up, I think it's important to note that there were people there, who were against this. There were residents there, and it was inspiring to see them come also. And I think that it really influenced the board to the extent that they realized, that they're not alone in making some of these courageous decisions that they make. But one of the ladies said, and I wrote it down, that that Polk County has the highest foreclosure rate in Florida. And some
That's
reports say it has the highest foreclosure rate in the United States. So we don't need any more homes here. We've got
That's
plenty
right.
of homes. Yeah.
We've gone from being the fastest growing to the fastest foreclosures, and those two things go together. But I want to follow up on something you said, Juanita, because I think the fact that citizens came and spoke. Now, and one of the citizens was David Price, and he has enough name recognition in the city that I think it helped. But a couple of the board members did say to me that it means a lot to them to have the community folks show up and give them some support for the positions that they take. And I just want to commend them once more, because that board did something that night, which I think might be a turning point, because now the new PDP regulations are in place. Lake Wales envisioned, there's no excuse for people not to adhere to it any longer. The board is fully aware of that, and they could be a driving force in this community now to help us build more of what we want. And I want to encourage everybody out there to think in terms of starting to show up at planning and zoning board meetings. You will be appreciated even if you don't speak. They are always on the fourth Tuesday of the month at 5:30 at the municipal building. So hope to see you there.
And it's important for people to understand that we need to look at Lake Wales as a whole. It doesn't have to be that you go down to the P&Z board because something's happening right in your little neighborhood. You know, it has to be looking at, we are a big neighborhood, but we want to keep it a neighborhood, you know? So come down, even if it's not happening in your backyard, it's happening in our backyard as a whole community.
Well, I think that one of the things we're trying to do with this podcast is give people information and to help educate them about what is going on. And I wanted to go back and talk a minute about Lake Wales Envisioned. Lake Wales Envisioned, several years ago, the city decided that they were going to have a public meeting about their utility service areas and their areas that they wanted to annex for this and that and the other. And they held it down at the James Austin Center. And when the public showed up, there were over 100 people that showed up there wanting information and trying to determine what the city was doing relative to development. And the city was not prepared for the citizens being that concerned. And they kind of did not make a good showing that night, the city of Lake Wales staff. And so they went back to the drawing board and then started a public process where the community came in and basically was a part of a collaborative process to develop some standards for our community so that we don't end up just being a sprawl development community. We developed those standards. It was an expensive plan, probably $500,000 to $600,000 the city spent on that. And then we developed this plan called Lake Wales Envisioned, which is a statewide and even nationally recognized good plan for our city. And now that we're here, it's up to the citizens of the community to hold the city staff and city commission and planning and zoning boards feet to the fire for those standards that we've set in that Lake Wales Envisioned plan.
Yeah. And before we leave this topic of development that we're on, I think maybe we should mention Stone Ridge, which is, the last big development that has come through recently that people have been very concerned about. And I know, Catherine, you have some concerns about the environmental aspects of this part. Other people have concerns about the fact that it doesn't have enough industrial. If you're going to approve the project, it should have more industrial and doesn't need any houses. Really, we don't need any more houses. And it's an annexation, it's just making Lake Wales bigger, which means we're going to have more water, more of everything eventually. So it's an interesting project. It's probably not going to come up for its second reading until August, but I hope people will show up when it does and have something to say about it.
I think we need to let people know where it is. As you're going west out of Lake Wales, you go past the road where you turn off to the airport, and then you get to these open fields that are between that sort of developed area and West Lake Wales out there,
Mm-hmm.
And it's those fields to the right. Well, there's they're calling the Commons that's north of that area, over, to the north or on the north side of 60. And this is that area south, that big field, which in my estimation, a lot of that is wetland. I don't even understand how we're allowed to develop into these 100-year floodplain areas.
Mm-hmm.
That'll influence the insurance on houses there, won't it?
I don't understand that there's been no discussion. Those areas are part of the Peace River Basin and floodplain for the Peace River.
Mm-hmm.
So, when we have hurricanes and, big rain events, there's a lot of seasonal ponds out in that. That's a 1,200 acre piece of property, and people in West Lake Wales need to pay attention. I know that some of those areas are not annexed in the city, but you can come in and speak at the city commission meeting when it comes up.
Yeah.
Don't they propose 3,000 homes for that?
Something
Around
like
3,000 homes, yeah.
Yeah. I'd like to throw out something here. I'm willing to develop an email distribution list for people that would like to be advised when this project comes up for discussion in probably the first meeting in August. And if people will let me know their email address, and they want to be on the list, I'll put them on it. And Catherine, maybe you could put my phone number up there.
Why don't we put your email address instead?
Don't we have a Three Little Ladies email list as well? I mean, address. Three Little Ladies. Oh gosh, I wish I had looked it up before I came.
Oh. Are you monitoring that one still?
I haven't been lately, but I certainly would if we put it up. Do you have it there, or
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember. It's been such a long time.
Yeah, here it is. I got it.
Yeah, Three Little Ladies, Lake Wales. Yeah, LLW.
I'll leave that up there for a minute so that people can write it down. If you'll email,
I'll definitely monitor it.
Yeah, if you'll send your email address, it'd probably be good if they would send their cell phone number so that they could be texted also in the event. But we want people to know that when these things come up, you need to be there all along trying to understand the process, because sometimes when you come in at the last minute, people are not willing to make changes to things. But the Stone Ridge development is going to make a major impact to the west of Lake Wales, into those areas that we've traditionally thought of as being like cattle pastures.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that, and also the things that went to the Planning and Zoning Board this past Tuesday that we just talked about, they may be appealed, and they're going to come up at various places, which people would like to know about. The board's need for us citizens to show up and express our opinion about these things. And there's that country club project, now I forget the name of it, that was supposed to come up in July. It's been postponed again, but there's several things that people need to keep their eye on. And let's just quickly remind them that if they want to keep up with what's going on in the city commission, those meetings always happen on the first and third Tuesday of each month at 6:00 at Municipal Hall, or you can watch it on Public Access TV.
And the issues that will be discussed at that Tuesday meeting are in the agenda the previous Wednesday for their workshops. Sometime there's a couple of things I wanted to say. Maybe we need to do, I think we need to do a Three Little Ladies on how to use the city website. It is not user friendly. It is not a user friendly program or website. And you can find the agendas. You can find the schedules of events, calendars, and stuff there. Also,
they've made it a little bit easier. Oh, since people complained about it. If you go on the very first page, there is a link to just click on that takes you to the live stream, right? And there's also a link there right on the first page that takes you to the agendas. So even though I agree with you, it is difficult to navigate a lot of things on there, but certainly being able to listen to the live stream is not as difficult to do. Unfortunately, they don't take
there's
them.
Some kind of banner that always comes up on the bottom, and it's supposedly, according to the city staff, something to do with disability usage of the website, and you have to hit accept to clear that off so you can see stuff. I fought through that the first year that I was trying to do this stuff. So, there's some tricks to that. Is there anything else? I think the next city commission meeting is next Tuesday?
Yes, this coming Tuesday at 6 o'clock. Yes, and the agenda is not extensive. There is the main land use issue on there is Hickory Ridge, this proposed annexation of Hickory Ridge, which is out there just west of the country club. And it's interesting. Robin Gibson is very doubtful about it because it has septic tanks. He doesn't want anything more with septic tanks. And that makes it a very questionable development. The only issue right now on this coming agenda is just the annexation, not. Pardon? No, yeah.
I think that Juanita's been having trouble with her.
No, I'm not having trouble. I'm listening to what Charlene's saying. I have been having trouble, but fortunately not during this particular taping. I just wanted to say something because it came to mind. I remember being at the meeting, and there was something that I said at the meeting, and I think I really hope that it resonated in the ears of the P&Z board. And that's that, if they can't do it right, don't do it at all. We do not need to bend over backwards for developers because we don't really need those developments anymore. So if we're going to have any kind of development here, it should be development that sticks to the aspirations of Envision and that creates, that neighborhood atmosphere that we want here in Lake Wales to keep it a friendly and a community, not just a bunch of houses.
Yeah, and they need people like us showing up to keep reminding them about Lake Wales Envision, because if you notice, when you go to these commission meetings, how long has it been since you heard a commissioner use the term Lake Wales Envision? It's like it's almost disappeared from their minds. Once in a while, it comes up. And once in a while, an ordinance gets passed that somebody says might be part of Lake Wales Envision. But it takes we citizens to make
we citizens, so many of us went down there and were really an integral part of forming the Envision. They asked us, they did get smart after that first meeting, and they asked us to come down with the charrettes that they had and give our opinions and show what we wanted and what we didn't want. And so it really was a community effort. It wasn't just someone sitting there making a plan. And so for that reason alone, they should give it a little more respect, I think, than they are.
Yeah,
I agree. And Lake Wales I will reiterate, this is a plan that has statewide and even national significance in being a good plan, recognized. I think they even got some awards for that plan. And yes, the city has gotten grants based on the fact that they had this really good plan. Mm-hmm. So I think that we need to continually bring that back to them and to ask them to follow the tenets of that plan.
Yep.
Well, anyway, do y'all have anything else y'all want to add? Like, at this end of the city commission meetings, I always say just anyone, they give those commissioners a chance to do their comments. Would y'all like to have like your own little comment period right now, just real quick?
I just want to remind you, Catherine, that you had said to us that you wanted to talk a little bit about economic development today. Have we gone on too long?
I think today's a little bit, we're already at 25 minutes. So okay. I think we have a few things that I would like to bring up in the future. There's actually three things I want to bring up in the future. Economic development, because I think there's been too much emphasis on this idea of building houses is economic development. Building houses is not economic development. We need a real, genuine economic development plan for this city. Mm-hmm. Number two, one of the things that I think we need to talk about is those CDDs, that they're building these, and the downfalls of using these CDDs in an inappropriate fashion with these new developments. Because I don't even think our planning and zoning board members or our city commissioners, a lot of them understand what a CDD is.
No, we've tried to educate them. We've spoken on it a couple of times, but they've voted yes on everyone that's come before them.
That's one. And then the other one is, last year, the Planning and Zoning Board, and for some reason, it seems like it was in their purview to make this decision, that they turned over giving these impact fee waivers to these developers, to the staff. So we don't even get to see what kind of impact fee waivers are being given to these developers. So I think that we need to bring that back and ask the Planning and Zoning Board to take that back so that we bring that back into the light of the community to see what's being given to these developers.
Yeah, and there's some automatic impact fee waiver built into the traditional neighborhood ordinance and the new PDP ordinance. There are certain circumstances where people get automatic impact waivers, and it's not up for a vote. It's in the law.
Well, I think that is something maybe we need to, because it's my understanding that Winter Haven is actually reviewing and raising their impact fees at this time.
They did. They voted on it, I believe, at the last commission.
Right, because they're recognizing that the cost of everything is going up and that they cannot be waiving these impact fees because it'll fall back on us, the taxpayers, when there's not sufficient money to pay for this stuff.
Well, they did at their commission meeting. They had a lot of, projections, with numbers and everything. It looked like they had put a lot of effort into it. That's what we need to see. You need to project what is it going to be like in 10 years, Yeah. But I want to stick one more thing in. You had three issues that you think we should. When you explained to me at one point the frailty of the ecology on the ridge, that, I really didn't know very much about that because I'm not originally from Lake Wales. And I noticed that a lot of people that move here don't even understand what that means, the ridge. And how important it is, and that it's a geological feature and it has an importance in this area. So I'd love to see something on that too, to explain that. Yeah.
Well, I think that these are a lot of things that we can talk about in the future, and kind of think that that's a lot for today, and it's kind of nice to be back in the saddle, so to speak. And to see you ladies, and also to have you on the call. I was a little worried your internet was a little wiggy, but sounds like it's held its own today.
Just about 2 seconds ago, it flicked on and off on me. So I'm anxious to say goodbye before I disappear completely.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, let me. I'm gonna put our music back on just for a second, and then we'll kind of go out. Okay.
Yeah.
Have y'all have a great day. Okay.
You too.
And you do the same. Okay. Don't roast. Stay cool. Stay hydrated.
Yeah.
Bye.
Okay.